Here I am, sitting in my basement, wondering why a Netflix show targeted at young adults has a warning like that at the beginning. What's up guys, Harvey Holbrook here. 13 Reasons Why has to be one of the most controversial pieces of media created in recent memory for its astoundingly outrageous representation and understanding of suicide and how it's marketed to young adults as the new hip, trendy thing, when really no one should watch this. In this video, I'll be taking a look at 13 Reasons Why as a whole and the issues I have with it, then looking at the marketing, and then comparing it to another piece of media that I personally think is a much better way of teaching people about things like suicide and depression. Just a quick note, this video will not be monetized for obvious reasons, and spoilers do lie ahead, so you've been warned. But if you haven't seen the show, then, you know, just don't. Save yourself the time. Also, this video is highly opinionated, so if you've got an opinion to share yourself, just leave it in the comments. Don't just dislike and not tell me why. Let's dive into issue number 1. The handling of sensitive subject matters such as suicide and sexual assault. Season 1 of the show is all about how Hannah Baker decides to kill herself, make 13 tapes to emotionally blackmail everyone she knows in order to get them to change and to improve themselves as people. Obviously there's more to the show than just that, but it's a big part of it, and it's not a message that I'd want to be sending to young adults around the world, to your audience of over 6 million people. And bear in mind, that 6 million, that figure, is only from the first 2 days of Series 2 releasing onto Netflix. In essence, the show is promoting suicide as an effective means to get people to change their ways. No wonder people actually tried to mimic the events of the show in real life. This was an immature thing to do on the behalf of the creators, because there are so many people around the world that suffer from suicidal thoughts. To bring things into perspective for you, in 2017 alone, there were 6,000 accounts of suicide. 2 young girls, both 15, reportedly felt inspired by the show and as a result killed themselves just days apart from one another. Now, I understand the argument that people could say that I should really be blaming the book for all of this. After all, the book came before the series. But is the book as accessible to the same 130 million people who have a Netflix subscription? The answer is no, by the way, it's not. The book reportedly only sold 3 million copies within the 10 years since its release. And that was in 2017, when the show was already out. It's not quite the same as 6 million people in 3 days now, is it? Revenge as a motivation for suicide is not the kind of message that is healthy or productive to send. Psychologist Kelly Posner, director of Columbia University's Anti-Suicide Initiative, said this in an interview. Take it from someone who actually knows what they're talking about. The message in 13 Reasons Why, although I'm sure the original intentions were good, and not because people wanted to make loads of money on Netflix. The show completely fails at educating young people about the terrible effects and repercussions that suicide can have on friends and family and the world around you. My friend Jess had to say that it's also worth mentioning that people with suicidal thoughts might try and use the show as an indirect form of self-harm, and to preempt the idea that the show raises awareness for suicide. It really fucking doesn't. It was a media attention grab, and I think the efforts made after the show were short-lived, at least in my opinion. As in, like, they had to like add extra warnings and like add a helpline at the end. But like they didn't have those, they had to add them. I agree with so much of what she's trying to say there. And I do think that this show not only is an indirect form of self-harm, but it gives people in this position the justification or the final push that they could be looking for in order to convince themselves that this is what they want to do. Moving on to point number 2. And now I'm going to talk about the marketing for the show. The trailer for the first season of the show begins with some lovely pop music and some lovely visuals of your average high school.
Hey.
Hey. Hannah, I'm not going. Not now. Not ever.
Then we get hit by the very interesting hook line. Why didn't you say this to me when I was alive? Ooh. Now, let's say you're like me. And of course, I never actually do this, but let's say you're like me. You turn off the trailer there. To avoid spoilers, of course. You know, the show looks interesting. It's a murder mystery. You know, the cast is a bunch of teenagers. That's an interesting enough plot. Or it could even be about the paranormal. And now, I'm gonna binge the whole damn thing. Let's say, for argument's sake, that I'm a young adult who's had suicidal thoughts. And all it could take is for one very popular and very influential show to push me over the edge. Cue 13 Reasons Why, the show that tells me, yes, those suicidal thoughts I was having really are the best thing to do. Later we get to the title card, based upon the best-selling novel. You see, they're really trying to sell this show to me now, aren't they? Cue the dramatic pop song. And the very dramatic editing opens door dramatically. Then we hear some dialogue about how some characters don't like Hannah and don't like suicide. Ew. Oh, and by the way, they have a hashtag for this show, so make sure you tweet 13 Reasons Why, okay? From this trailer, all I get is... what do I get? High School Mystery. Well, I see a show about why Hannah Baker killed herself and how she's now getting revenge on all the people that did her wrong. And I should definitely tweet hashtag 13 Reasons Why, because that's really important. I really feel like this trailer completely misses the mark for what the show should be about, in essence. I think that the trailer, as well as the show itself, doesn't do the right thing in terms of how it's trying to convey its messages. Obviously, the trailer is just a blatant hook to try and get people to watch the show, but they're not considering the wide audience that the show is going to reach, being on on Netflix, one of the biggest streaming services in the world, which is, if you didn't know, quickly overtaking cinema in terms of popularity. I'm going to move on to point number 3, which is about the changes that the series creators made from the book and the difference between substance and shock value. This one I feel is pretty self-explanatory, but here goes anyway. The people who made this series decided to change the way that Hannah Baker kills herself. Because why not, I suppose. In the book, she overdoses, which, you know, is pretty graphic as it is. But that wasn't good enough, you know? That wasn't shocking enough just to see this young, vulnerable person overdose. So they had her cut her wrists in a bath. This is completely unnecessary. Was the overdosing part not quite shocking enough for you? And if you thought that was bad, in season 2, the creators of the show, they sat down for their board meeting. They said, you know, we really traumatized a lot of people with that first series. And we're quite far through series 2 at the minute, but nothing shocking enough has happened yet. You know, we want to be cutting wrists in the bath. So we're going to feature one of the most graphic, over the top and completely unnecessary scenes of sexual assault ever put to any streaming service. This is a scene that I've also had the misfortune of accidentally watching on Facebook, because why not share that on Facebook? Don't watch series 2 episode 13 if you're easily squeamish or just don't want to see somebody getting a broom shoved up their ass, because it's really not that nice. In fact, just don't watch any of it. Just don't watch the show. Then you're all sorted. I couldn't really care less if the show is entertaining. People have taken this piece of media and decided that they feel inspired by it. Well, that's fucked up. And that shouldn't be a thing. 13 Reasons Why, as a show, just simply shouldn't exist. In my opinion, the show is just controversy at this point for the sake of it. Was that a rant or was that an essay? I don't know, you tell me. Now, one of my favourite short films in existence is called Curfew. It was made in 2012 and directed by Sean Christensen. The Oscar-winning short film deals with similar themes of suicide and depression, but in a way that really just encapsulates what type of message you want to be sending to your audience. The film chooses to show how love and how family can bring you back from the darkness and really invigorate your life again and help keep you living. And I think, as a whole, that is such a more wholesome message to send. This film, sorry, I'll say that with a fucking script in my hand. This film is poetic and beautiful in its own right. Not only is it filmed well, the acting is great, the story is great, the writing is great. The music is subtle but effective. And it's not just good as a piece of media which I can analyse because I'm a sad little child, but it's also it's also something that I believe can educate people on suicide in an appropriate way. It doesn't encourage, it doesn't justify, it just teaches and informs. And honestly, it even lets you know of the ways that you can get help. In my opinion, this short film is leagues above 13 Reasons Why, for many reasons. Honestly, just go check it out. There's a link in the description. Go and watch it. I highly recommend it. As a film guy, as a person who can relate to feeling vulnerable and feeling alone sometimes, this film is heartwarming. And obviously there is some gore per se. There is some gore, some blood, obviously, because what the main character is doing to himself isn't good. So you've been warned on that front, but obviously this short film is just beautiful. You know, not every short film teaches you of how family can be the deciding factor between life and death. Seriously, go watch that short film. It's really good. That has been the video. I hope you enjoyed. I've enjoyed making it. There'll probably be some behind the scenes where I keep fucking up the script, because I really messed up. I messed up a fair bit with this one. But this video's been in the making for a while. I just sort of stopped for a while because my skin wasn't very good, and you know, I was busy making many a film. Don't know if you've watched any. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, honestly. I'm sorry if you were offended in any way by the video or you just disagree. If you do disagree, then just leave your comment below, share your opinion. Don't just dislike the video for the sake of it. If you're gonna dislike it, you know, if I see 19 dislikes, I want to see 19 comments on why. If you didn't notice, we're actually in the basement with the Retro Annulment set, which is pretty cool. You should go watch Retro Annulment if you haven't, because it's a banging film and I want to win that Roscar. So go watch that. Go watch Losing Game, which is sort of the spiritual successor that me and Lucy made. It's really good. And then if you're feeling cheeky, go watch Photography the Movie 3, because it's actually really good fun and it's filled with some really cool people. I feel like it's an enjoyable experience as a whole. So yeah, there you go. That's it. That's the video. Was that a rant? Yes, arguably so. Oh fucking well. I need to stop swearing. Alright, here's that last bit. Here's my script. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And stay tuned for more videos in the future. This is the first video essay I've done, so I just, you know, let me know how it went. So yeah, see you later, guys. Okay, time to start recording. Bapada. Boo.